My cheating ex calmly said, "You have to bless our wedding, or bad karma will follow us." I replied, "Not my business," blocked her, and thought it was over until their spiritual advisor got involved. And I am 25. Work as a warehouse clerk at a shipyard. And I am raising my best friend's 6-year-old daughter after he died in a construction accident 2 years ago. Life's been hard, but we have built something good, me and Isla. She is adjusting to school, I have got her in therapy, and we have got routines that work. Then yesterday, I get this invitation in the mail. Fancy cardstock, calligraphy, the whole 9 yards. My ex-girlfriend Callista is marrying my former best friend Brecken. Let me be clear about the timeline here. Callista and I dated for 3 years. Brecken was the guy I called when I needed advice about the relationship, the guy who helped me pick out birthday gifts for her, the guy I trusted more than anyone except the friend whose daughter I am now raising. 3 years ago, I found out they had been sleeping together for 6 months. Not a drunken mistake, not a moment of weakness. 6 months of deliberate betrayal while I was working double shifts to save for an engagement ring. I walked away from both of them the day I found out, blocked them on everything, moved to a different part of town, rebuilt my life from scratch. And honestly, I was fine. More than fine. I had Isla. I had my work. I had peace. So getting this wedding invitation felt like a sick joke. I was about to throw it in the trash when my phone rang. Callista. I answered because I am an idiot. "What do you want? Did you get the invitation?" Her voice was chipper, like we were old friends catching up. "Yeah, congratulations." "Goodbye, wait, Kieran, please. We need you to come." "Why the hell would I come to your wedding?" "We went to a spiritual advisor. He said our marriage will face catastrophic obstacles unless we resolve our karma with you first." I actually laughed. "Your what? Our karma? The negative energy from how things ended?" The advisor said the only way to cleanse it is if you come to the wedding and give us your blessing. He was very specific about it. "Let me get this straight. You cheated on me with my best friend, and now you want me to show up and bless your union so your marriage doesn't have bad juju. It is not about what I want, Kieran. It is about what the universe requires. If you don't come, if you don't release this negative energy, it is going to poison everything. Our marriage, our future children, maybe even our health. That is the dumbest thing I have ever heard, please. I am begging you. Just come to the ceremony, you don't even have to talk to us. Just be present so the karmic debt can be paid." Here is a thought. Maybe the karmic debt is that you 2 pieces of shit have to live with what you did. Maybe that is the universe working exactly as intended. Don't be cruel, I am hanging up now. Don't contact me again. I blocked her number and thought that was the end of it. It wasn't. This morning, I woke up to an email from Callista. Subject line, "Please understand." Attached was a photo. It showed what looked like some kind of altar candles, incense, spiritual trinkets. In the center was a photo of me. Next to it, a photo of Isla that she must have gotten from social media. Both photos had red X's drawn over them. The email read, "This is the manifestation board my advisor helped me create. The X's represent the blocked energy. If you don't come to release this, the negative karma will attach to both of you, especially the child. I don't want that. Please reconsider." I stared at that photo for a full minute. She would put my daughter, my 6-year-old daughter who had already lost her father, on some psychotic spiritual hit list. I forwarded the email to my lawyer with the subject line, "Is this harassment?" And then I sent Callista one final message before blocking her email too. "Go to hell. And if you ever mention Isla again, in any context you will be hearing from my attorney." I thought that would scare her off. I was wrong. Update 1. It has been 3 days since I told Callista to go to hell, and things have escalated in ways I didn't see coming. The day after I sent that message, I started getting phone calls, not from Callista or Brecken directly, they at least had enough sense to back off after the lawyer threat, but from their parents. First was Callista's mom, left a voicemail saying I was being unnecessarily cruel and that her daughter had grown and changed and deserved a fresh start without my toxic energy hanging over her marriage. Then Brecken's dad called my work number. I still don't know how he got it. Told me I was being petty, that men should be able to forgive and move forward, that holding grudges was beneath me. I didn't respond to any of them, just documented the calls and forwarded the information to my lawyer. But it was my grandmother who really got under my skin. Nana Thorne raised me after my parents died when I was 12. She is traditional, big on family harmony and forgiveness, the kind of woman who thinks any conflict can be solved with a good meal and honest conversation. She called me yesterday. "Kieran, honey, I heard you got invited to a wedding. How did you hear about that? Callista's mother and I are in the same quilting circle. She mentioned you are causing some trouble." "I am causing trouble, Nana. She cheated on me with my best friend. And now she wants me to show up and bless their marriage because some con artist told her it would fix her karma. I understand you are hurt. I am not hurt. I am done. There is a difference. But honey, what does it cost you to go? Just show up for an hour, let them feel like they have made amends, and then you never have to see them again. Isn't peace worth that small gesture? It is not worth validating their belief that they can do whatever they want, as long as they perform the right ritual afterward. And it is definitely not worth putting myself in a room with people who think threatening my daughter with spiritual curses is acceptable." She threatened Isla. I told her about the photo, the altar, the email. Nana went quiet. "That is different," she finally said. "That is not right. No, it is not. So I need you to tell your quilting circle friend that her daughter needs to leave me alone, or there will be legal consequences." After I hung up, I felt like shit. Nana meant well. She always does. But she grew up in a time when keeping the peace was survival. When you swallowed your anger and pretended everything was fine because that is what decent people did. I cannot live like that, especially not now. Not with Isla counting on me to model what healthy boundaries look like. That night, after I put Isla to bed, I did something I probably shouldn't have. I looked up Brecken's LinkedIn. He is working as a sales associate at a regional insurance company. Nothing fancy, but according to his profile, he has been there for 2 years and just got nominated for some kind of leadership development program. Then I noticed something in his recent activity. He had posted about values-based leadership and building trust through authentic relationships. The comments were full of his coworkers congratulating him, his boss saying he was exactly the kind of person we want representing our company culture. I sat there staring at that post, something clicking into place. Brecken works at a family-owned insurance company, the kind of place that markets itself on traditional values and trustworthy relationships, the kind of place where image matters, and he is up for a promotion to management. The wedding wasn't about karma, it was about optics. He needed me there to prove he had made amends with the friend he betrayed. Needed to show his conservative bosses that he was a stand-up guy who had resolved his past mistakes. The spiritual angle was just the cover story to pressure me into participating in his redemption narrative. I went down a rabbit hole, found the company's website, read their About Us section. Sure enough, huge emphasis on integrity, honesty, and community relationships. They even had a testimonial section where employees talked about how the company was like family. If Brecken's bosses knew he had spent 6 months sleeping with his best friend's girlfriend behind that friend's back, he wouldn't just lose the promotion, he would probably lose the job. The spiritual advisor story was genius, in a sick way. It gave them moral high ground. They weren't asking me to forgive them for their sake. They were asking me to help protect everyone from cosmic consequences. But it was bullshit. All of it. I called my lawyer the next morning, told her everything, asked what my options were. The calls from the parents are borderline harassment, but probably not enough for a restraining order yet, she said. The email with Isla's photo is more concerning. We could potentially argue it is threatening, but it is couched in spiritual language that gives them plausible deniability. So I just have to wait for them to escalate. Or you could shut this down another way. Do you have any evidence of why they really want you at this wedding? Just a hunch. Brecken works at a conservative company. He is up for a promotion, and I think he needs me there to clean up his image. Hunches aren't evidence. But if you could prove it, I hung up knowing what I had to do. I needed to find that spiritual advisor. It took less research than I expected. Callista had mentioned him by name in one of her early emails, Master Rowan. A quick Google search turned up a Facebook page with about 200 followers, offering karmic readings and energy clearings for $150 a session. His real name was Carl Rowan, 34 years old, 3D US, and according to the court records I found, he was currently on a payment plan for $8,000 in gambling debts. Not exactly a credible spiritual authority. I sent him a message from a burner Facebook account pretending to be a potential client who had heard about his work with Callista and Brecken. Asked if he could help me with a similar situation, needed an ex to forgive me so I could move forward with my life. He responded within an hour, said he could definitely help. Suggested we meet at a coffee shop to discuss my energetic blocks. I showed up with my phone recording in my jacket pocket. Update 2. Meeting Master Rowan was one of the most surreal experiences of my life, and I have been raising a 6-year-old by myself for 2 years. Carl Rowan looked exactly like what you would expect from a guy with 3 DUIs and gambling debts, mid-30s, sleeve tattoos that weren't quite healed, energy drink in hand, wearing a shirt with some generic mandala print that probably came from a clearance rack. We met at a Starbucks. I would brought a notebook and pen to look serious, and my phone was recording in my jacket pocket. So he said, settling into his chair with the confidence of someone who genuinely believed his own bullshit. You are dealing with karmic debt from a past relationship? Yeah, I messed up, cheated on my girlfriend with her best friend. Now, I am with the best friend, and we are getting married, but my ex will not talk to me. My fiancé is convinced it is blocking our future. Carl nodded sagely. The universe doesn't forget betrayal. That energy lingers. Have you tried reaching out? Multiple times, she will not respond. That is why I need someone with your expertise. I can work with this. What we will do is a 3-phase energetic clearing. First, we identify the karmic threads connecting you to your ex. Then we perform a ritual to transmute the negative energy into neutral vibrations. Finally, we create a manifestation board that will draw her toward reconciliation. How much does that cost for a case like yours? Probably $2,000 total, but the results are guaranteed. Guaranteed how? He leaned in. I have never had a client who didn't achieve reconciliation when they followed my process exactly. That is impressive. How long have you been doing this? About 6 months professionally. Before that, I was just helping friends 6 months. Right around when Callista and Brecken would have started planning their wedding. I let him talk for another 20 minutes, taking notes, asking questions about his methods. Then I went for it. Can I ask you something off the record? He glanced around like we were discussing state secrets. Sure, man. Have you ever had a client who, I don't know, maybe had ulterior motives? Like they weren't actually interested in the spiritual stuff. They just needed the appearance of trying. Carl's expression shifted. Not much, but enough. What do you mean? I mean, if someone came to you and said they needed an ex to show up to an event for professional reasons, not spiritual ones, could you still help them? He was quiet for a moment. Then he smiled. You are asking if I help people create narratives. Yeah, I guess I am. Let me tell you something. Most people who come to me don't really believe in karmic energy or spiritual cleansing. They believe in social pressure. They believe in having a framework that makes their demands seem legitimate instead of selfish. So, you give them that framework, I give them tools. What they do with those tools is their business. Like Brecken Lowe. Carl went very still. I don't discuss other clients. Come on, man. I know you are working with him. He sent me the ex he needs to reconcile with an invitation to his wedding. My fiancé been calling. His parents are calling. They are all using your karmic debt language. I watched him process this. Saw the moment he decided I was safe to talk to. Brecken's situation is complicated, Carl said. He has got this job opportunity, but the company's old school. They care about character references, personal integrity, all that traditional bullshit. He needed a way to prove he had made amends with the friend he screwed over. So you told him the marriage would fail without my blessing? I told him what he needed to hear to stay motivated, and I coached Callista on how to frame it spiritually, because she actually buys into that stuff, win-win. Except for me, Carl shrugged. You are the ex. You were always going to be uncomfortable. I let the silence stretch. Let him think I was considering his methods. What if I don't show up? I asked. Then Brecken doesn't get his clean slate, doesn't get the promotion, and I don't get the second half of my fee. But that is not going to happen because Callista's committed. She will keep pressuring you until you cave. She put my daughter on a curse board. That wasn't my idea, Carl said quickly. I told her to keep it focused on you. She got creative. I stood up. Thanks for your time. Wait, are you interested in my services or not? I've got everything I need. I walked out of that Starbucks, got in my truck, and sat there listening to the recording 3 times to make sure it was clear. Carl had just admitted on tape that he was knowingly running a con. Brecken hired him to manipulate me for professional gain. The entire karmic debt story was fabricated. He was being paid in installments, which meant there was a paper trail. I sent the audio file to my lawyer with a message. Is this enough? She called me 10 minutes later. This is more than enough. This is beautiful. Where did you get it? I told her about the meeting, about pretending to be a potential client. Kieran, I am not going to ask if you violated any laws getting this recording because I don't want to know. But what I will say is that this gives us leverage, significant leverage. What kind of leverage? The kind where you can make them leave you alone permanently, or you can burn their lives down, your choice. I thought about that. Thought about Callista sending me photos of Isla with red X's drawn over her face. Thought about Brecken using my pain as a stepping stone to a promotion. Thought about weeks of harassment from their parents while they played the victims of my toxic energy. I want to burn it down, I said, but I want them to know it is burning before it is too late to stop it. My lawyer laughed. I was hoping you would say that. Final update: the wedding was supposed to be yesterday at 2 p.m. I know this because the invitation is still on my fridge, held up by a magnet Isla made in art class. I didn't go, obviously, but I did make sure I was present in spirit. Let me back up. After I got the recording of Carl admitting the whole spiritual advisor thing was a scam, my lawyer and I had a conversation about next steps. We can send them a cease and desist, she said. Lay out what we know. Threaten legal action if they contact you again. That will probably shut them down. Probably. There is always a chance they ignore it and keep pushing. Narcissists don't respond well to boundaries. What is the alternative? You could wait. Let them think they have won. Then on the wedding day, when they are expecting you to either show up or be a no-show, they can spin into a victim narrative. You release the evidence publicly. That feels nuclear. It is nuclear. But it also permanently solves your problem. They cannot harass you if they are too busy dealing with the fallout of being exposed as frauds. I thought about it for a day, talked it over with my grandmother, who surprised me by saying, sometimes the kindest thing you can do is show people the consequences of their actions. So I made a plan. I spent the week before the wedding collecting evidence. Screenshots of every text, email, and voicemail from Callista, Brecken, and their parents. The photo of Isla on the curse board, the recording of Carl, bank statements showing payments from Brecken to Carl's Venmo, LinkedIn screenshots of Brecken's posts about values-based leadership. I compiled it all into a single document with timestamps and context, made it clear and damning and impossible to misinterpret. Then I identified my targets: the family group chat that both sets of parents were in, Brecken's work email, and the HR director at his insurance company. The wedding was at 2 p.m. At 1:30, I hit send. I wasn't there to see the immediate fallout, but Nana was. She had been invited to the wedding by Callista's mother despite my objections, and she went specifically to report back. According to Nana, chaos erupted about 15 minutes before the ceremony was supposed to start. Callista's mom got the group chat message first, started reading it on her phone, went pale, and grabbed her husband. They huddled in a corner, clearly arguing about something. Then Brecken's phone started blowing up. His boss was calling. His HR department was calling. His coworkers who had seen the email were calling. Brecken disappeared into a side room with his phone. Nana said she could hear him through the door, his voice getting louder and more desperate. Meanwhile, Callista's parents confronted her about the curseboard photo, demanded to know if she would really threaten a child. Callista apparently tried to explain that it was just spiritual work and not a real threat, which went over about as well as you would expect. At 2 p.m., the exact moment the ceremony was supposed to start, Brecken came out of the side room looking like he had aged 10 years. Walked straight up to Callista and said, loud enough for everyone to hear, "We need to talk." Now, they went into the same side room. Nana said the yelling was immediate and vicious. Callista apparently didn't know about Carl being a hired con artist. Brecken had let her believe the spiritual angle was real because it was easier to manipulate her that way. When she found out he had been using her superstitions to pressure me for his own career advancement, she lost it. The wedding never happened. Guests started leaving around 2:30 when it became clear nothing was going to be resolved. By 3 p.m., both families were in full crisis mode dealing with the fallout. I know all this because Nana called me from the parking lot at 3:15 and gave me the full play-by-play while I was at a park with Isla, watching her play on the swings. You nuked them, Nana said. And I couldn't tell if she was impressed or concerned. They were going to keep coming after me, I said. This was the only way to make it stop. I think you are right. But Kieran, you need to be prepared. They are going to be angry. Let them be angry as long as they are angry somewhere away from me and Isla. The fallout continued over the next few days. Brecken was put on administrative leave pending an investigation into his character and ethics. His company takes its wholesome image very seriously, and being exposed for manipulating people, including hiring a con artist to pressure someone into attending your wedding, doesn't fit that brand. Callista called me from a blocked number screaming about how I had ruined her wedding, her relationship, her life. I let her vent for about 30 seconds, then said, "You put my daughter's photo on a curse board. You don't get to play victim here." Then I hung up and added the number to my block list. Both sets of parents tried to reach out through Nana. She shut that down hard, told them I had done nothing wrong and they needed to accept that their children had consequences for their actions. Carl, the spiritual advisor, apparently got a visit from the police after someone, definitely not me, definitely my lawyer acting on her own, sent them information about his fraud operation. Last I heard, he is facing charges for theft by deception. The most surprising thing was the response from Brecken's company. His boss, the one who had been praising him for his authentic relationships and values-based leadership, sent me an email directly. "Mr. Slate," it read, "I want to apologize on behalf of our organization for any role we may have played in Mr. Lowe's harassment of you. We were unaware of his past actions, or his current scheme. Please know that we take issues of character very seriously, and Mr. Lowe's employment status is under review. If you need anything from us, including a formal statement for legal purposes, please don't hesitate to reach out." I forwarded that to my lawyer with a message. "Is this them trying to avoid a lawsuit?" She wrote back, "Probably. But it is also them genuinely horrified that they almost promoted someone who does stuff like this. Small companies that market on family values cannot afford that kind of scandal." 2 weeks later, Brecken was formally terminated. I know because he sent me one final message before I blocked him completely. "I hope you are happy. You destroyed my career, my relationship, my reputation, all because you couldn't let go of something that happened 3 years ago. I was trying to make amends. I was trying to move forward. But you had to be vindictive." I stared at that message for a long time before I responded. "You didn't want to make amends. You wanted me to participate in a performance so you could get promoted. You hired a con artist to manipulate your fiancé and pressure me. You let your parents and hers harass me for weeks. And when none of that worked, Callista put my daughter, my 6-year-old daughter, on a spiritual hit list. None of what happened to you is because I couldn't let go. It is because you couldn't accept that some bridges, once burned, don't get rebuilt. Especially not on your timeline, and for your benefit. I didn't destroy your career. I just made sure your employers knew who they were promoting. I didn't destroy your relationship. I just showed Callista how you were using her beliefs to manipulate both of us. You destroyed all of it yourself. I just documented it. Then I blocked him and deleted the conversation. It has been 6 weeks since the wedding that wasn't. Isla asked me why I seemed happier lately. I told her sometimes grown-ups have to deal with people who try to make their lives complicated, and when you finally get those people to leave you alone, it feels really good. She nodded seriously and said, "Like when Tommy kept taking my crayons at school, and then the teacher moved him to a different table. Exactly like that." My grandmother came over for dinner last week. While Isla was watching cartoons, Nana said something that stuck with me. "I was wrong to tell you to just go to that wedding and keep the peace. I grew up thinking that avoiding conflict was the same as being kind, but you taught me something. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do is refuse to participate in other people's delusions." "I am not sure I was being kind," I said. "I was pretty ruthless. You protected your daughter. You protected yourself. You made sure 2 people who had already betrayed you once couldn't do it again. That is not ruthless. That is just self-preservation. I have thought a lot about that, about what I owe people who have hurt me, about whether forgiveness is always the right path, or if sometimes the healthier choice is just to make sure they cannot reach you anymore. I don't think I am a vindictive person. I don't think I took pleasure in watching Callista and Brecken's lives fall apart. But I am also not sorry I did it. They came into my life 3 years after I had moved on, demanding I help them feel better about what they had done. When I said no, they harassed me, sent their parents after me, and threatened my daughter with spiritual curses. Karma doesn't come from spiritual advisors or manifestation boards. It comes from treating people like disposable props in your redemption arc, and then being shocked when they refuse to play along. I am building a good life with Isla. We have got routines, we have got stability, we have got a community of people who actually give a shit about us. I am not wasting any more energy on people who see me as a problem to solve instead of a person with boundaries. The ring box that used to hold my ex-girlfriend's engagement ring now holds Isla's baby teeth. The calendar that used to track my relationship milestones now tracks her school events and therapy appointments. The energy I used to spend trying to be enough for someone who was never going to appreciate it now goes into being enough for a kid who already thinks I hung the moon. That is not settling, that is not giving up. That is choosing to invest in people who have earned it. Last week, Isla asked if I was ever going to get married. Maybe someday, I told her. If I meet someone who is really special, what makes someone special? I thought about Callista showing up 3 years later demanding spiritual absolution, about Brecken hiring a con artist to manufacture my forgiveness, about all the ways people try to force reconciliation when what they really want is to stop feeling guilty. Someone special, I told Isla, is someone who doesn't need you to forgive them for things they keep doing, someone who treats you well from the start and doesn't ask you to forget when they don't. She thought about that. That makes sense. Yeah, it really does. I am 25 years old. I have been betrayed by people I loved, harassed by people I had written off, and threatened by people who thought spiritual language would disguise their manipulation. And I am fine. Better than fine. Because the thing about refusing to participate in other people's redemption narratives is that it leaves you a lot more time to write your own story. Mine's pretty good right now, just me and Isla. Building a life that doesn't require anyone's blessing or forgiveness or karmic clearance. Just requires us showing up for each other every day. That is enough. More than enough.